my undergrad in computer science, worked for a little bit, then went back to grad school because I wanted to learn more. I was starting to get interested in AI, and so I did my master's and PhD there with Doina Prikup. This was at a time before AI is as popular as it is now, so I had a hard time finding an academic job. I did find a postdoc for a year, which wasn't extremely positive in terms of the research direction I wanted to take. So luckily, at the same time, I got a job with Google in ads, but more applied machine learning. So I joined Google. I did that for 4 years, and then a year in Chrome, and Chrome was in Montreal, and then Google Brain opened up in Montreal, so I joined them. I was lucky enough to be able to join them, and that's where I am now. And so my research focuses on fundamental reinforcement learning, and 50% on that, and the other 50% on creative uses of machine learning, specifically with relations to music and art.
Together.
Yeah, so there's a sub-team of Google Brain called Magenta, and Magenta stands sort of for music and art generation. And so it's a bunch of researchers that are exploring the intersection of machine learning, creativity, music, art, and trying to build the next generation of tools. So if you think of in the 60s, if you had a band and you wanted to record an album, you had no choice but to hire a professional recording engineer, go to a professional recording studio, and record your album there, because otherwise it wouldn't have sounded very good. Nowadays, anybody can do it in their basement with tools like Pro Tools and Logic, and you can really record high-quality albums and release it yourself. So in a sense, these tools, these technologies democratize the process of recording albums. And there's many other examples of technology helping people being able to express themselves artistically without having to have a big record label behind them. And so we view these new technologies that we're building with machine learning as the next generation of these tools, that now they have this quote-unquote intelligence embedded in them that is hopefully going to democratize this process even more and take us to the next level, both artistically and scientifically. So Magenta is focused on that. I'm also a musician. I'm a jazz musician, and so I'm very interested in how we can use these tools as part of my performance. And so a lot of my research is starting from that. So as a performer, how can I use these technologies to make it just more interesting and go into different directions that I wouldn't have normally?
Can you give us a sneak peek we heard from a bird space?
Right, so my efforts with LatinX. So last year, I went to ICML, which is a big machine learning conference in Stockholm, and a few of us started writing in this common app that we have, trying to find all the Latin Americans that were there. And so we all managed to kind of find each other, and we met for a lunch. And this conference has about 8,000 participants. There were 20 of us there. And so this really highlighted the fact that we're not really that well represented in this community. And those of us that were there, I don't think any of us actually lived in Latin America. We were all either in North America or in Europe, in places like Google, DeepMind, or in big universities. And so this really struck a lot of us as something remarkable, that many of us hadn't realized how underrepresented we were in this community. And so we started asking around, and we realized that there were other efforts as well to try to increase this representation. And so I've been involved with this. It's called a coalition, LatinX and AI Coalition. It's a bunch of people that are volunteering their time essentially to try to increase the representation. And the way we've been approaching it is in these big machine learning conferences, we've been hosting workshops where we invite people from underrepresented communities, specifically Latin American underrepresented communities, to submit the research. Now, the bar is a bit less restrictive than the big machine learning conference, and this is in part because these communities have lack of resources. The education system isn't as advanced as you might find in some places like North America, and so they don't have the funds to be able to attend some of these conferences. So there's a variety of different reasons why they're not able to be there. So with these workshops, we get sponsors, and we're actually able to pay for these participants to come and present their work there. And so not only do they get to present with other people, they get to interact with other Latin American researchers, and they get to be a part of this larger machine learning community. And on the other hand, the larger machine learning community is starting to get more visibility, more insight into what's happening in Latin America. And so these efforts are really, and things like RIIAA and Kipu in Uruguay that are coming up, they're really strengthening the community, the research community, and the community that revolves around AI in Latin America, and trying to kind of bridge that gap between what's separating Latin America with places like North America, where a lot of the funding and the most late-breaking research is happening. Yes, so it's been really fantastic to see how RIIAA has been developed. I mean, last year was the first time that RIIAA was held. I wasn't here for that one, but I heard it was just really organic and it felt almost like a family. And I think these physical gatherings are very important. I mean, we have a lot of technology that allows us to do video streaming and that type of thing, but there's nothing like physical and personal communication, and this just allows us to strengthen the ties. And so what I really appreciate about this conference is that it's not just people that are here in Mexico that are getting together. There's people, I mean, I'm coming from Montreal, there's people coming from the Bay Area, people coming from Europe and from other countries in Latin America. And so the confluence of all these places and having physical contact and physical conversations is extremely important, because it really, that's what really strengthens these ties. So my interaction with the industry section here at RIIAA, it's been really fantastic. It's again, it's one thing to publish and to give talks where you're sort of separated from the people attending or the people reading your work. I really enjoy being on the ground with these people and really interacting with them, having discussions, lively discussions with them. And I like it when it's less of a, I'm the teacher and you're the student. It's more, like you phrased it, I'm a facilitator. So they're presenting some of the work that's been developed at Google, but it's really more of a conversation. And so hearing the perspectives of the community here and what their priorities are and how they're approaching the problem, I think is really interesting as a researcher to see, because we think of problems in a very different way. And I think getting all these different perspectives will only make all of us stronger, both the researchers and the people that are more industrial. What would I tell a student that's thinking of getting into AI in Latin America? So I'd say get into it if you're really passionate about it. Don't get into it because it's popular. And even if you do get into it, don't choose topics that are popular because they're popular. Choose things that you are passionate about, even if it's not popular. Because if you're passionate about something, you'll be able to drive it forward, and it'll drive you to make it more visible to other people in the community. The popular things have a lot of people working in them, and that's fine. If that is something you're passionate about, that's great. But really follow your passion rather than where the popularity is. So what advice I'd give to new students in Latin America thinking of getting into this field is, well, one is first do your homework, in the sense that read up on the different research that's happening. AI is a big field. There's a lot of different subfields. So first try to find what is the field that interests you the most, because what's important is to follow your passion. So if you're passionate about computer vision, then that's great. Then really dive into that and start getting into the nitty-gritty of that. If computer vision isn't what's popular at the moment, it doesn't matter. If that's what you're passionate about, there's enough researchers around that can supervise you and that can help you forward. And so really follow your passion rather than follow what's popular at the time.